Okay, we want to find the exact value of sine 1485 degrees. Since this is more than 360, I need to first figure out how many revolutions, how many extra revolutions that I have to go on this. Because talking about the periodic properties, if I know how many extra revolutions I go around, then I can basically ignore those and get down to the original angle I had before. So what you're going to do is you're going to take 1485 and we're going to divide it by 360. So why 360? Because 360 would be one revolution. I want to find out how many times I go around. So I'm really finding that K value that I talked about before when I did the formulas with the periodic properties. I'm looking for that K value. 360 divides, if I divide that into 1485, that's going to go on 4 times. And I will have a decimal here, so if I were to have a calculator, I would have a decimal version. I don't care about the decimal. I only care about the whole number that's there. So I know that I'm going to go around at least 4 times of 360. Well, I want to find out how much is left over once I do that. So I'm going to take 1485 and I'm going to subtract 360 times 4. I'm subtracting 4 revolutions from 1485 to find out what the starting angle originally was. That's my original T value. That's what I'm trying to find. If I subtract all this, then we get 45 degrees. So what that means is that I can rewrite this. If I have sine of 1485, that's exactly the same thing. If I can write this correctly here, 1485 degrees. That's the same thing as sine of, okay, 45 degrees is what I'm originally starting out with, plus 360 times 4. The 4 right here is our K value that we had last time. So I can take this and rewrite it as this expression right here. 45 plus 360 times 4. The 4 again came from when I originally divided it. That's my K value that I have here. So the rule says, the periodic property says that if I've got sine of t plus 2 pi k, or in this case we have 360k, that means that I can simplify this down into just sine 45 degrees. If I go around the extra revolutions, I'm going to keep going around and around and around 4 times. It's going to still take me back to my original 45 degrees that I had before. So because of that, I just need to find this value, and we're going to refer back to the table we talked about in the previous section, table of all the trig values. That's what we're going to refer to here. So sine 45, if you look back at that table, is going to be square root of 2 over 2. So that would be the exact value. The word exact value, that means that they don't want a decimal answer. They want an answer that has a fraction or a square root in it. So this would be your final answer, square root of 2 over 2. I'm going to find the exact value of tangent negative 17 pi over 4. Now in the previous problem we looked at, I did the whole problem in terms of degrees. So now I'm going to do the whole problem in terms of radians to show you could do it either way. Now in the notes, I actually changed this over into degrees and I did the whole problem in degrees. I'm going to show you that you could also do the same problem, the same process, all in radians. First, we notice that I have tangent of a negative angle. Now I want to get rid of the negative angle here, so I'm going to use the even and odd properties that we talked about previously. I have tangent, so the formula I want to use that I'm going to refer back to is tangent negative t is the same thing as negative tan t. That's the formula I want to use here. I want to get rid of the negative angle. So in this case, if I have tangent negative 17 pi over 4, that's the same thing as negative tan 17 pi over 4. So I'm taking the negative. Originally it was part of the negative angle, and now I'm making it into a positive. So now I'm going to do the whole problem this way. I'm just going to look at 17 pi over 4. Now previously we talked about you would take your angle divided by 360 because we were working all in degrees. Because we're in radians this time, I'm going to take 17 pi over 4 and I want to divide it by 2 pi because 2 pi would be 1 revolution. That's the same as 360 degrees would be 2 pi if you're working in radians. So I'm going to divide that by 2 pi, and when you do, you get 17 pi over 4 times 1 over 2 pi. Now the pi's are going to cancel and you get 17 over 8. Now we have to look at what kind of number is 17 over 8. I'm only concerned about the whole number, what that is. If I rewrite this as a mixed number, that's 2 1/8. Now I don't really care about the 1/8. I'm only concerned about the 2 here. So that tells me that if I take 17 pi over 4 divided by 2 pi, I know that I have at least 2 revolutions, and I'll have a little bit more. So what I want to do next is I'm going to take 17 pi over 4 and I'm going to subtract 2 pi times 2. Times 2 because that's the whole number part that I got from here. So I know that I can subtract at least 2 revolutions away, but I want to find out what my angle is that's left over, so that way I can rewrite this and use the periodic property to simplify that. Okay, so this is going to be 17 pi over 4 minus 4 pi. I want to get some common denominators here, so if I do 4 over 4 there and subtract it, I'm going to be left with pi over 4 as a result. So if I take 17 pi over 4, subtract 2 revolutions from it, I get pi over 4. That means that I can rewrite the whole thing. Now I still have a negative sign on the outside I have to remember that I originally had out there before. But instead of writing it as 17 pi over 4, here's how I'm going to write it. I'm going to write it as pi over 4 plus 2 pi times 2. That's how I can write it. This is my original 2 revolutions that I had, and then I have an additional amount of pi over 4 that I have left over because I just subtracted that. So this whole entire thing in here is the same thing as 17 pi over 4. I'm just rewriting 17 pi over 4 to look like this instead. Periodic property says that if I have this extra revolution, I can actually cancel that part out. So now my whole problem will turn into negative tangent pi over 4. Tangent pi over 4, that's the same thing as 45 degrees. I can look at my table that I did in the previous section. And tangent pi over 4 is 1. So this is equal to negative sign I have here from original formula that came out of here originally from the negative angle. And then the value of tangent pi over 4 is 1 from my table. So here's my final answer. The exact value of tangent negative 17 pi over 4 is going to be negative 1.